Oops, I have the wrong packet.
I'm gonna miss you.
Mixed agenda from last meeting.
I'm not gonna sit down, just
Yes,
stand
sir.
up.
I'd like to call to order the March 2019 Whitehall Board of Commissioners meeting with a pledge of allegiance and a moment for our troops overseas afterward. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I have been asked, demanded that I read this. Whitehall Township has an obligation to affirmatively further fair housing to the review all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. This includes taking meaningful actions that overcome patterns of segregation and foster inclusive communities free from barriers that restrict access to opportunity based on protected characteristics. The township, in its land use decisions, does not discriminate against persons based on race, color, natural origin, religion, sex, disability, or familial status, and reviews all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. Public comments made on the basis of bias and stereotype concerning people within these protected classes will not be taken into consideration by the township in its deliberations. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes from last month?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any other comments on them?
I just made a remark last month about the property at 2413, about the safety concern of the cars going over the curb. I talked with the mayor about that. I talked to Frank Clark about that, so it wasn't referenced in here.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
Those amendments are duly noted. Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Clary? Aye. Commissioner Dutt?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker? Aye. And President Ginder?
Yes. Now, before we move to courtesy of the floor, I would like to note we have former Commissioner, and now Lehigh County Executive Phillips Armstrong in our presence this evening, and we welcome him. Would you like to address the room, sir? Briefly.
Yes, I try to make a point to get to every municipal meeting once a year, and I'm at the halfway point of the 25 now. And last year I started with you and worked this way. This year I put you in the middle, maybe next year. But I come to all the municipal buildings, meetings, to ask if you have any issues that you think I need to take back to the county to kind of let you know exactly what the county is doing. In fact, we sent out a press release, but again, we don't get it in the press. Tomorrow, our COG, where we've invited every municipal representatives to come, and our main goal tomorrow at that meeting will be to help every municipality with grant writing and how to go out and get what's out there. The pot is shrinking. I just got back from Washington, and I'm going to go to Harrisburg in another week. And the word is the pot is shrinking. The well is running dry, however you want to put it. So the sooner you can identify your projects, the sooner you realize that what you want to do and get these projects in and have the grants. And Whitehall's always been superior for that. So that's never been a problem here. But with some of the municipalities, especially the smaller ones, I really think we, as a county, should do a better job of helping them to get through these processes. And that's what tomorrow's going to be. Unfortunately, we don't get publicity in the paper when we have these kind of things, but that's one of the things we're doing. Do you have any questions on anything, or do you see anything special from the county right now? I usually get hits with something or other at every meeting.
We don't have tomatoes.
Okay, well, other than that,
In spite of the fact that you and Ed are down there, or maybe because of it, I guess, I was attempting to be humorous, the relationship we have with the county has been exceptional, Phil, and we thank you for all the help you've given to us over the past year. You and Ed have been doing a great job for everybody, but we're being heard, and we appreciate that.
oh, and it's, again, the cooperation we've had back and forth has been excellent, so. Any other? Okay, basically, I also would like to say personally to Mr. Dutt, I was disappointed that he's going to be leaving Whitehall Township because the things he's done, and especially the historic district and the senior center, just as a resident now, not as the county executive, appreciate what you've done for Whitehall. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Phil, if I can tag on to that, because of what he's done, we anticipate that next year we'll be able to export that to other playgrounds, notably perhaps to Cementon, because what he's done is just rolling. Snowball just keeps getting bigger.
Thank you.
Job well done.
Thank you.
I thought we saved that for the end.
Courtesy of the floor.
Lorianne Faino?
Hi, my name's Lorianne Fainal. I live at 3107 North 3rd Street in Whitehall. I'm just going to address a couple concerns tonight.
Excuse me, we can't hear you.
Oh,
could you-
my two sockets, usually I'm normally too loud. Is that better for you?
I think so. Can everybody hear her?
Can everybody hear me?
Here we go.
Yes? Okay. All right, so a couple concerns up in Hawkindaqua. You know, Commissioner Dutt, I'm also sad to see you. You're going to be leaving. He put Hawkindaqua on the map, and our streets are getting abandoned vehicles that are not supposed to be legally on our streets. I have contacted our police department. Specifically where I live, there's 4 of them on Iron Street between 2nd and 3rd. Officer Seelig has come out. He tagged 1 in January it was. This specific vehicle is playing cat and mouse because he told me Officer Netarasa came out and the car is not there. This is 2 months later, the car is still there. He has a second vehicle that's also not supposed to be legally on the street, not inspected. There's just 2 other cars by 2nd and Iron. It's a truck, and then there's a van that's an out-of-state plate. You know, he puts on the map to make us look nice. Do we want Hawkindaqua to look like a junkyard? Anybody? I don't want it to look like a junkyard. You want it to look nice for the historic district, am I right? Because that's what it's going to turn into. If we don't do something, getting some type of ordinance in place, enforcing these people. I mean, they mark it for abandoned vehicle, Chief, correct? Chief, when they do for the cars are not inspected, you put an abandoned vehicle on them, a sticker. Am I right? Usually. Now, when they get that, if they take it off, what happens then? Do they still come back? Like, what's the time break? Cecilia told me it was 72 hours. Is that correct? And if the vehicle's not there, do they come back again? Or they continue to sit there for months? Do you know?
Sometimes it takes between 45 and 90 days for the state to issue a reclamation title.
I'm just trying to find out because these cars are just sitting there. And the one, like I said, he's driving it back and forth and it's still on our streets. Like I said, I just want Hawkindaqua to look nice, not a junkyard. Also I'm still advocating for a stop sign, Mayor, at 3rd and Iron. I just want to talk about 2 incidents recently that happened. One of them was on 3-5. I was standing at the bus stop waiting for my children when a vehicle blew the stop sign at 3rd and Iron coming from eastbound. It was stopped by a car that was coming from south to north by honking its horn. Had there been impact, more than likely I probably would have been hit standing on the corner. So also, and then on 223, I'm trying to get out. I'm coming from the west side to make a right turn to go south. And I had to slam on my brakes because of a car coming speeding down. So that is an issue with that intersection. And one day I do want to present also from last year when our school district had our bus coming from east to west. When the opposing traffic does not have to stop, it leads to cars running more reds on a bus. And I tell you, there's at least 8 that I have that I made a video of. And it's very disturbing to see how this opposing traffic just boom, 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 just blowing it. And it's hard to get the description on because they drive by so fast. Also, the snow emergencies. We're declaring them, but we're not enforcing them. I mean, I know in Hockendaco there was a whole bunch that didn't move. And the only reason I didn't call as a citizen complaint because it was snowing so hard. I didn't think it was appropriate to be calling the police, hey, you know what, go knock on people's door when there's 7 inches of snow already on their car. I think that's an issue that we need to address as a township to make sure that these roads are clear for the first responders, because I appreciate them, and I'm also a former first responder, so I take that to heart. Also, if you give me a paintbrush, I will paint that yellow curb by our fire hydrant 3rd and Iron, because people are parking within 2 feet of that fire hydrant because they think they can just park there. Even though we know the state law of how far of a distance, people are still doing it, and it's dangerous to do that. It's not fair. That's it.
Can I address the snow emergency? We've been meeting, and we anticipate next year a complete revision of that ordinance.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that.
And as I noted to you before, we utilize the emergency when we believe there's going to be a problem clearing the streets so that emergency vehicles can get through.
Right, but I think you also forget about there's ambulances that have paramedics on there that have to get access to homes as well. So you got the fire department, you got the police department. Understand, I'm a former paramedic, and I know what it's like to be able to get a truck over when you have a lot of, it's not even a lot of snow, Mayor. I'm talking about ice. That's treacherous. You can't drive on ice. It's hard to keep a vehicle on ice if you don't have the chains dropped. That's just the reality of it. I'm telling you how it is. I mean, I think there needs to be major enforcement, not just by plowable. We know what 6 inches or more is considered plowable, I guess, right, nowadays?
Well, it depends upon when and where and how, but we're working on revising that. That'll be
And-
happening for next year.
And then I guess, was the Nixle broken down again? Because it didn't go out on Nixle again.
No, it's not broken down.
Okay, that's all.
Okay.
That's it.
Joni Tedesco?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Joni Tedesco, and I reside at 424 4th Street in Whitehall. This evening, I come before you regarding the discharge of fireworks in the township and an ordinance to possibly be imposed regarding the cutoff time. I read where you would like to impose the cutoff time of 10:30 p.m., but I personally feel 10 p.m. is more appropriate, and the reason or reasons will follow towards the end of what I have to say. In October of 2017, Governor Wolf signed into Pennsylvania law the use of certain kinds of pyrotechnics that contain up to 50 milligrams of explosive material, such as Roman candles and bottle rockets. And I know that you all are aware of this. These are safety issues. According to Chief Nelson, he suggested in a June 4th, 2018 article that stated homeowners should hose down their roofs before firework-prone holidays. Really? We shouldn't have to do that. The Pennsylvania law states buyers must be over age 18 to purchase fireworks. Fireworks cannot be discharged from or toward a building or vehicle. Fireworks users must have permission from the owner of the property where the fireworks are to be discharged. Fireworks cannot be used within 150 feet of an occupied building. There aren't too many places that I know of here in the township that are further than 150 feet from an occupied building. Fireworks cannot be used by someone under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or controlled substances. This past year has been like living in a war zone, much worse than any other year, and I suspect that they're only going to get worse as time goes on. They were being discharged hours upon hours on end. This is troublesome for many people for many reasons, such as people that have to get up and go to work in the morning, people that have animals that need to be sedated, such as Major, my husband's service dog. And it's sad. Along with the veterans that suffer from PTSD, my husband, and he's a Vietnam vet. I absolutely have no idea what Governor Wolf was thinking when he signed this law. All I know is that he is not a veteran and has no clue what it's like to be in that position. I humbly request to use your best judgment when implementing an imposed ordinance to take all the above what I mentioned into consideration when doing so, and to have the police take appropriate action upon receiving these complaints, as I know there will be many if it was anything like it was last year. Thank you for your time and your consideration to this matter. And before I forget, I'd like to thank Commissioner Dutt for his serving of the Township of Whitehall, and I wish you well in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with one of our ordinances.
Excuse me?
You'll be pleasantly surprised with one of our ordinances we're voting on tonight.
Okay.
It addresses everything.
Thank you.
Ray, it begins Minna. Okay. You sort of trail down as you go along there.
I'm Vin Irving Jr. on behalf of my father. Good evening, Mayor Herrickle, Commissioners. I'm here to report on a property that we believe is a nuisance in the community of Egypt. They are operating a lawnmower business out of their home. It's Hess Lawn, and we have several reasons here why I believe it is a nuisance. They have wood and plastic garbage cans and byproducts of the business staged in an organized fashion along the side of their house. According to the home occupation guidelines, no home business can exhibit external characteristics or evidence of their existence. Furthermore, the guidelines state that a business must be compatible to the residential use of the property. I do not believe that this business is compatible with the residential use. Also, there can be no stockpiling of an inventory on the outside of the residence. The stockpiling of wood and garbage surely violates this guideline. Additionally, according to the new Township Ordinance 3098, it is illegal to park your vehicle on the lawn of your yard. They have a large trailer, enclosed trailer, landscape trailer parked on the side of their house in their yard. It also tracks soil and dirt and sediment onto the roadway, which is in violation of stormwater regulations, I believe. There's been an increase of rodents in the area due to the stockpiling of the wood. Also, according to Article 3, Section 611, wood is considered litter, and according to Section 616, it shall be unlawful for any person to store, warehouse, or retain litter in any open area except in adequate receptacles, which it is not, as determined by the health officer or board of health of the township. The unstacked debris also surely reduces the local home prices in the area. Everyone in the neighborhood maintains their property, and that is what is expected from neighbors and people who move into our neighborhood. My parents have been asking that this situation be handled for several months and have seen no action by the homeowner to clean up the debris. We're asking the township to help keep the community clean and help in making sure residents of Whitehall obey all ordinances and guidelines.
What's the address of this property, sir?
The property
Yes.
is 4512 Nile Drive.
And
I have photos here too, if you'd like to see.
have you talked with our zoning department about?
We've,
Have we been out to site?
We've been out to see it. We don't have our codes enforcement, pardon? Yeah, we've been after the property, and the enforcement people are aware of the circumstance. They're doing their best to deal with it, and I suspect that will be able to culminate in resolution. At this point, it hasn't been completed yet.
You have to come up, state your name and your address, please.
I saw him out of the yard one day, so I went out there and I asked him, I said,
Your name and address, please.
my name, Ray Minirovic. Okay. He was out there when,
Sorry, your address, please?
your address.
Your address.
4510 Nile Drive, Egypt.
Okay, thank you.
He was out there one day working on his truck and all that. So I went over to him, I said, I'll take this wood away for you. There's a rotten, insects and all come to my house and all. So, I said, I'll take it to the dump for you. So he said, well, I'll have to talk to my wife. I said, okay. So I went in there waiting for him. About 5 minutes, he comes out, doesn't say nothing, don't even look at me, gets in the truck and drives away. So I'm standing like a jackass. That's the kind of, well, that's the kind of people, I mean, I'm trying to, everyone in the neighborhood says something has to be done. I mean, you know, people in the neighborhood, they look by and they stop, they just shake their heads, what kind of people live there? Well, Mike saw the place, right, he knows how it is, it's terrible. It's a dump in the middle of nice, we spend money, $1,000 people there, keep their homes nice, and this is a dump. It's a junkyard. That wood's been there for 8 years. I've been up there 45 years, I live here. That's been there almost 10 years, that wood. It's all rotted. And when they have firewood, they put it in the back of the house. It's not piled. It's thrown up like a bonfire. It's a fire, and then where they park their cars, there's wood against the garage and piled it. All rotted. It's just, it's a mess. It's unbelievable. I don't know how these people, I don't know. That's all I can say about it. If you went past, you'd just shake your head too. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll be on it. They're on it.
That's all.
That's all?
Acting President Ginder.
Thank you. Public hearing and voting on ordinances. Bill number 6, 2019. An ordinance establishing the salary of the township mayor for the years 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. And these years are all after the new election, not during current terms. Do I have a motion?
Do we need to decide the percentage first?
No, no.
It's-
Or just a
Make
motion?
the motion and then,
Gotcha. I'll move.
I'll
Do I have a second?
I'll second. Mr. Vice President, I'm going to recuse on this issue because I'm a candidate for mayor currently.
All right, discussion by the board.
okay, just to give you back at, last week at the workshop, since I weren't here, Dennis Hauer suggested 3%, and I think the rest of us were at around 2 3/4%.
Can you
Now-
please speak up? We can't hear you.
Yes, I will. Okay. Sorry, I got too far away. So we collectively had, not given a vote or anything, but we did come up with probably 2 3/4. Just want to express that Dennis wanted to do 3%, and that's about where we're at there.
Yeah, the numbers here reflect 2 3/4% per year.
I think it says 2.5.
2.5%.
No, that was last time.
No, the last thing we got to,
Current,
No.
we got in,
The whereas is referring to the prior term, which ends at the end of this year. The numbers down below in the now therefore are 2.75%.
okay,
Or-
thank you.
Or what percent more?
2.75.
That's not what I came up with.
okay.
Yeah.
Any other discussion from the board?
I think Dennis made the point that there were years, multiple years in a row, where there was no raise given. So I think we're kind of,
It wasn't multiple. From what I remember about previous to these 4 years, there was a point in there when the recession hit where we did like
1.5.
I'm going to say 1.5, and then back to 0, and then again,
Right.
which would have been like about 8 years ago when the recession hit. You know, we choked like we did everything else in the township to try and get through it. Which that was the reason for doing that at that time, and then 4 years ago, we put them up to 2.5. Any other comments? Any comments from the public? Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Dutt,
Yes.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. And Acting President Ginder,
Yes.
because Mr. Marks declined. So it passes 4-0, yes,
One abstention.
yes.
Bill number 7, 2000,
5.
Was it 5?
Yeah.
It had to be 5.
5 abstention.
You're right.
one.
Well, I got confused a little bit there.
You want to use my pen?
No, yours doesn't work any better. Forgive me.
Like how we're all counting.
Bill number 7, 2019, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of proposals for providing janitorial services for specific municipal buildings for Whitehall Township. RFP number 18-22 in accordance with section 3.2 in the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments from the board? There being none, comments from the public? Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Dutt?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Connery?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Acting President Ginder?
Yes.
Motion passes, a bill passes 5 ayes, 6 ayes, 0 nays. Small numbers confuse me.
Bill number 8, 2019, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of proposal for construction inspection services per request for proposals 19-01 in accordance with section 3.20 in the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments from the board? Being none, comments from the floor? Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Dutt?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
President, Acting President Ginder?
Yes.
Okay, bill passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 9, 2019, an ordinance amending the civil service rules and regulations of the Township of Whitehall, County of Lehigh, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, setting forth standards and procedures for the operation of the Civil Service Commission pursuant to the First-Class Township Code, defining terms, establishing the duties and powers of the commission, governing applications for employment and promotion within the Bureau of Police, determining examination protocols and creation of eligibility lists, setting forth standards for physiological, and voice stress analyzer examinations, and establishing rules and governing suspensions, removals, reductions in rank, hearings, and record maintenance. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Comments from the board?
Yes, if I could.
Mr.
As one of the 2 veterans on this board, I'd like to thank the Civil Service Commission and Chief Marks and his administration for support of this. I feel strongly that our military members, active duty, deserve some type of break when they get out of the military. Military members will serve this community well. In lieu of their military service, we're going to give them their college credits. I think it's beneficial to our community. It's hard to find police officers today. I think the loyalty and dedication that you get from military members is second to none. And once again, I'd like to thank you, Chief, for moving forward with this. I think it's very important.
The research that I have done shows that this is consistent with what the state police use now. So we're not doing anything outside the box. We're just catching up with the times.
Any other comments from the board? There being no further comments, comments from the public? Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Dutt?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. President Acting Ginder?
Yes.
Okay, bill passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 10, 2019, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for purchase of 2 2019 Dodge Charger vehicles for the Police Patrol Division in accordance with Section 3.20 in the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Second.
I'll second.
Comments from the board? There being no comments, comments from the floor? Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Dutt?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Acting President Ginder.
Yes.
Bill passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 12, 2019, an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Article 1, fireworks by eliminating Section 6-1, discharge of rockets and fireworks, other conduct, 6-2, sale, use, etc., 6-3, reserved, and 6-4, violations and penalties, and replacing them with Section 6-1, discharge of rockets, other conduct, 6-2, sale, use, etc., 6-3, use and sale of fireworks limitations, and 6-4, violations and penalties. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Comments from the board?
Yeah, I would just like to say, I agree with Mrs. Tedesco. 10:30, I think 10 o'clock's more appropriate, and as we had spoke last week in the workshop meeting, I think it's confusing to our citizens when we allow and permit these 10 people to set up and sell fireworks, even though it's regulated and it's allowable by the state. I just think allowing them to sell it in the township and then enabling them to use them, even be it, in a window of time, I just don't agree with that. And as far as the governor's concerned, he did it for tax revenue. They taxed us at, I believe, 12%, double the state sales tax, and that's why we turned into a war zone in World War III.
It was passed by the state legislature. The governor signed the bill. The legislature passed it. He signed it
Well,
as
it
part of the
takes-
budget deal.
It takes, takes a village to create something like this, and it's a monster. It's out of control. And I totally agree with her, and it's very hard to police. Chief Marks can attest to that. You have to basically be there when they launch them.
Yep.
And it's virtually impossible to be everywhere. And the only time we probably even know is when there's an EMS call, when the dummies blow their hand off. Right, exactly. I propose that we move it back to 10 PM. I don't think 10:30 is totally unreasonable, but I think the sooner the better.
Is there a reason it's 10:30? I mean, it's just not 10 o'clock or 9
That's-
o'clock? I mean,
That's what we came up with,
Okay.
an L&L, for no other reason than we felt 11 was too late and 12 was too late. Am I correct, chief? Or was there another thing behind that?
I thought it was 10:30 to allow for the big firework displays.
Okay,
I think they traditionally go off at 10 o'clock.
because usually midsummer, I believe it gets dark around 9:30, something like that, which gave some time for people who did purchase them to do them.
Yeah, I think that's exactly, we were thinking of the fairs and in Fullerton and Cementon and things like that, that their fireworks go off later than 9:30. And so I think we did 10:30 to account for those.
But it's
as
my
well.
understanding that public venues like that aren't accountable. I mean, they're still accountable, but what I'm getting at is if this Men's Fair sets off fireworks, that's different than homeowners. And what I'm getting at, I think we as a society are reasonable that if the Smeton Fair wants to set off fireworks, for a function, they do it in a reasonable way and in a controlled environment.
You bring that up, Joe, but the next thing you have is people coming in complaining, well, why can they do it and we can't? It's just the
Right.
way things are.
Plus the confusion of it, some 10,
Right.
it gets a little confusing. Is a half an hour that big of a, I'm sorry, the rest of the board should be speaking.
Is there a state law, does a state law set any, I know they set guidelines of where you can shoot it off.
There's no
but-
time restraints.
They did not set time.
Is there a difference in the law, and I'm not sure, between public fireworks and personal fireworks? In other words, time setting them off. So can we delineate between the two?
We could, the ordinance as written does not. The state law does have different
These are not
regulations.
public fireworks. These are fireworks set off by the cement fair people, same thing down there. I mean, it's the people that put them off are not it's not like we had with the movies.
Right.
That would be, to me, more in that venue, where these people have their own little,
Well, I'm saying they get a permit from the township in order to shoot them off, correct?
I don't know.
Yes.
They do. Okay, so they have documentation that they're doing it
And they probably
in the
have to
township.
get- And they probably have to get liability insurance too, I would. You know,
Bill,
'cause-
can I make a comment?
Absolutely, Mayor.
I know I missed the L&L meeting, but I think you clearly can distinguish between licensed purveyors of these fireworks that are happening, as you say, with the fairs. And you can distinguish between that and public individuals, private individuals who are setting these off. Frankly, I don't know why we need to go as late as 10 o'clock for people doing them in their backyard. They're not supposed to be doing it anyway. You can establish something that's more restrictive than that against those people, and I think you'd solve a lot of problems. Going to 9 o'clock, to be honest.
It's not quite dark yet at night,
Well-
was our reasoning in L&L. You know, people spend money for these fireworks and they wanna see them in the dark. This is what we reasoned out at L&L, just
There's some
not
sense to
countering
that.
your statement, just, it was our reasoning for picking later than 9:30.
There's also a provision in there that they can't shoot off fireworks, and I think this is the state code, if I'm correct, within 150 feet of a residence.
That's it. So
All true.
Theoretically, there's, as was said here before, there's very few places these fireworks can be set off in this township with 150 feet to a structure regulation. I don't mean to cut the comment short, but what I have in mind is as much time as was spent with this, trying to at least get something under our belt with this, that the police had something they could enforce, and the residents knew that we were working on the problem. Maybe we go with this, see how it, I'm just suggesting, see how it works. If there's still a lot of complaints about it, we can always choke this thing back. But at least this gives us a starting point. The police have a starting point, the residents have a starting point, and we have a lot more than we did before. Just, I don't mean to cut the debate short, that's not what I'm doing. Anybody else may certainly comment to that, of course.
Would it be impossible or unreasonable to amend this to 10 PM? To just move it back a half an hour?
The majority sitting here, you
And
could
see
do
what
that right
hap-
now.
See-
If we did, we'd have to re-advertise.
We'd have to re-advertise by changing
Because it's a
just the
substantial
time.
change to the language. Which would just push it back to next month, right?
Well, at that point, I would suggest voting on this as you have it tonight, and if the board by majority wishes to set that time back, then we just amend this and advertise it with the next things we're doing in the next month or two. At least the police have something they can deal with for now.
I kind of agree with Phil because there's other provisions within that law that prevent a lot of fireworks being supposedly fired off from different points in the township. And like we said, and Mrs. Tedesco had said about the distance from a house being fired off. So there's a lot of other teeth within this particular ordinance than just the time period.
Now, before we spend time and legal money in L&L, I don't know how to go about this, Attorney Sarah. Can we get a consensus of this board without taking a vote? How many would like to go back to 10 o'clock?
Yeah, as long as it's
So
in
we don't,
public.
we're not spending time in L&L and legal dollars and stuff when, when there's, nobody really wants to do this.
Right. Yeah, that's not a problem.
How many would like the time changed from 10:30? Can we do it with a show of hands?
I like 10 o'clock.
You'd like 10?
Yeah.
Jeff?
I have concern about the daylight time, 10:30. I mean, if it's at 10, it does give the time for the chief, the police to warn, saying, hey, you're in violation. They usually start with the warning. Some people may not be aware, but, if it's, I thought 10:30 was reasonable, but if the majority wants to go to 10, I'll go along with it.
What do you think?
I think that the legal and legislative groups spent time on
Yeah.
this to come up with that number, and honestly, I know it's only a half hour, but I still think that just the way things are going, and you're talking about mainly the 4th of July, although every day's 4th of July past Memorial Day. I mean, there's fireworks all the time.
In the summer, it goes on and on and on.
Yeah, and it doesn't, and again, this is nice that we're doing it, but I don't really expect it to have much clout. Simple as that, because just like was mentioned earlier, I mean, fireworks goes off. I don't know, it was over there, I think, and that's what the police are gonna get. They're not gonna get, oh yeah, I lit that, you know, it's not gonna happen.
But should they happen to be close to it and can pinpoint it, we now have something that they can use to put an end to it. And of course, once that word gets out, I think it'll spread pretty quick. It's better than the police having nothing and we're sitting here trying to deal with problems and the police can't do anything. They don't have an ordinance to enforce.
Yeah. And this is for the habitual offender, where, you know, the same family or every Friday night they're doing this, or Saturday night, so this at least. like you
Imagine
said,
living next door to that.
Yeah.
Jeff,
I would go with it as written.
as written.
Yes.
Joe?
I would prefer 10 PM, but the will of the board.
And I'm confused. I don't remember how many tens.
I would say let's get this enacted, and then we can change it in the future.
So we'll vote on this tonight, and if it passes, we'll bring some kind of an amendment to it before the board out of L&L, and then that can be voted up or down to change the time from 10 to 10:30. Fair enough?
Sounds fair.
Fair enough.
You have to run through a cycle of fireworks going off.
Sounds fair.
And when does this get enacted? Is it 30 days,
Immediately.
45 days, immediately?
5 days.
5 days, okay.
So,
I was concerned that we would go another month, we wouldn't have anything in place, and,
it'll be in place
okay.
by this time next week.
Any other discussion from the board? You okay, Mayor, with this?
Yes.
Discussion from the public, from the floor? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward, state your name and address.
Lorianne Fanel, 3107 North 3rd Street. I kind of back Joni. I think 10 o'clock should actually be the time, because the longer you wait, you know, we got shift change with the police department. So I think 10 o'clock is actually better. I mean, I have kids do like the fireworks and all, but I think 10 o'clock is actually very reasonable. I mean, Cementon usually sets theirs off at 10. I used to live in Cementon. So I think 10 o'clock should actually be the starting point, to be honest. And that's just my opinion, but I just kind of back her. I throw it. 10 o'clock is reasonable.
Any other comments from the public? Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Dutt,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Swaniger, aye. Acting President Ginder,
Yes.
motion passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Public hearing and voting on resolutions. Resolution number 3052, a resolution approving the amount of interest return to be credited to police pension fund member contributions for fiscal year 2019. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Second?
I'll second.
Comments from the board? There being none, comments from the public? Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Swaniger, aye. Commissioner Clary.
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Dutt,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks.
Yes.
And Acting President Ginder.
Yes.
Resolution passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3053, a resolution of the Governing Board of Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, authorizing, empowering, and directing the proper officers of the Governing Board to appoint a liaison between it and Berkheimer, the duly appointed collector of local taxes for the district, for the express purpose of sharing confidential tax information with the district for official purposes. Is the word district right in there?
Shouldn't be township.
No, because we collect taxes for the
Yeah.
For the school district.
and-
Yeah.
and the town.
Okay, so district is the right word, okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll move, oh,
Who's first? Jeff?
I'll move because it's, it's my last resolution, and it is my number of my address, so, I mean, I'll go for that,
There
right?
you go.
Second?
I'll second.
Tom? Comments from the board?
I have no problem with this. I just wish that the county would go ahead and think about truly putting somebody else besides Berkheimer. I honestly just get nothing but grief dealing with those people. And it's just the way it is. They're not easy to work with. And since you're here, might as well just throw it out there at you.
Any other comments from the board? There being none, comments from the public? Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Dutt,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
and Acting President Ginder.
Yes.
Resolution passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Other. A motion to approve the release of escrow for completed and withdrawn projects per Deputy Mayor Myers memo dated March 5th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Let him do it, he wanted that.
Oh, he can have it if he wants it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Comments from the board? There being none, comments from the public? Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Marks.
Yes.
Commissioner Dutt,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
and Acting President Ginder.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Reports of public officials. Can we start with you, Jeff?
I just want to wish Jeff that well. Jeff, you and I, we worked across the aisle on a couple things. You know, you picked up the phone and called me, I called you. And it was always for the betterment of quality of life. And I think we're going to have to fill that void when you leave. So thank you.
Thank you.
John?
I just echo the same thing. It's been a pleasure, the short time we worked together, but it's been a real pleasure, and certainly we're gonna miss having you here, and I'm certain that the township's gonna miss all that you do. So I wish you the best,
Thank you.
in all your endeavors.
Tom?
Same thing as those guys said, but, no, and what I've gone to appreciate is how much that you tried to do things. If they weren't working out, you tried a different way of going about it, and you kept up with the things. It's sometimes easy to go ahead and say, well, why don't we do this? And then you don't get that activity, but you kept up with it, and you're a very, very good commissioner.
Thank you.
I'm going to skip and allow you the last call here.
Thank you.
Joe?
Well, being one of the second last, you've been a mentor. Good luck to you. Emmaus is very lucky to get you. Good luck in your future endeavors, and hopefully, we created a lifetime friendship. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
The other thing I had to say is, we were just notified at the Copley-Whitehall Sewer Authority that the Environmental Protection Agency lifted the administrative order that was put on the signatories of Lehigh County. It's a good thing for our communities. It's unfortunate because the Copley-Whitehall Sewer Authority was very proactive and took the administrative order seriously. We spent millions of dollars, almost $20 million, to improve our system. Now, it wasn't done for naught. We got a lot of value out of that, and we'll get a lot of service in the future out of our system. Unfortunately, some communities didn't do a lot and sort of got away with it. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I'd also like to ask Mr. Clark, where are we at on the Summit and Prospect surveys that were sent out to our citizens?
The final edits are now, we're ready to send them out.
Okay, so they haven't been sent yet.
Now they're doing the final edits. I know Dave was working on it as well. He had some input, but we're ready
Okay.
to go from what I understand.
Okay, all righty. That's all I have.
But how soon do you think they'll be going out?
I would imagine this week if everybody's okay with it. So,
Jeff?
What can I say? As of March 30th, I will be resigning my position as commissioner in Whitehall Township. The reason being is because, unfortunately, my father-in-law had gone ill the past several months, and we were moving to Emmaus to help my in-laws with his illness. And unfortunately, last week he passed away. And so, well, we're going over to help my mother-in-law. We're only going to be 5 minutes away from her. I told my wife that for 23 years, she gave me an opportunity to live in my home, the home I grew up in, the neighbors I've had for 50 years, and everything that came with that. And so now I'm going to give her the opportunity to live in her hometown. And I wanted to do something for her, and I think that's going to be important. My time here as commissioner would not be complete without these people sitting up here. We may be different parts of the political aisle, but that does not prevent us from being friends. And I will never forget that. I will take that with me. At this point, this is not the end of my political career. But who knows what the road will bring in the future. And don't think I'm leaving you guys. I'm still going to be president of the board for the senior center, so I'll still be here to pester you. And I am still going to be heading the historical walks and the different things within the Hakkendakwa neighborhood. So I'll still be here with you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. None of this stuff that we have done would have been able to deal with without the people sitting in this room. Lee, thank you so much. I remember when I met with you for the first time, and I said I wanted to do this, and she looked at me with a surprise that I wanted to do it, but you know, working with her was great to get everything set up. So without you, none of this would have been possible. So thank you. Chief, we've had some laughs over the last 4 years, and getting to know you and dealing with some odd situations, let's just put it that way. Thank you so much for your help, your mentorship, your guidance. This township is lucky to have you, so thank you. To the volunteers, Mario, Joe, without you guys, this township would not run anything like it does. They are so lucky to have you. And continued success with what you do. And every time I plant a plant, Mario, I'm going to think of you, making sure that it's not a weed. Okay?
Weeds are good.
Mayor, I mean, I can't remember a time I worked with a political person that I've gotten along so much with and done so much with in a short period of time that you and I have known each other. I knew you when I was in high school. I don't know if you remember that, but I won't say how many years ago that was. But thank you so much for your guidance and your positiveness and the things that I wanted to get done in this township. So thank you.
Thank you.
And to all the commissioners, my goodness, we've been through some really, really ups and downs, some really interesting things within the township. And without you guys and your guidance sitting up here, I don't know what I would have done. I came in as a newbie to the political system, and you guys really mentored me to this, and I really appreciate your guidance and your friendships. It will not be forgotten. Jack, the first guy I ever called when I was running for office, and I said, could you mail me a budget? And he's like, sure. So that's how the whole process started. And Jack, even sitting down with you and going over certain things, I really appreciate everything you've done. You make this township run. So I really appreciate all the hard work that you do.
Pleasure was all mine.
Sarah, well, I've only gotten to know you a short time, but thank you for helping putting the senior center through on the incorporation, and that helps us out a lot. And to our township engineer, boy, I've had a lot of interesting questions for you. Thank you for your guidance, and thank you for what you do for the township. You have a really important job in keeping everything going, so thank you very much. And finally, Larissa, I know you have 2 boxes of letters in your office pertaining to a certain subject that you and I discussed the first day that you came into your new office, and just your pleasantness and your positiveness that you bring to what you do. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. So to the township, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for everything and all the support that you have said in the past, even your criticism to get me to keep on track with what I was doing. It's much appreciated. Thank you. I will never forget living here, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Commissioner Jeffrey Dutt, it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve with you on this board. You came on this board, you put the time in, you learned what you had to learn, you brought some good ideas, and they fruited in this township. Your hard work, your dedication to this township and all the residents of this township stands heads above. It shows. This board and everybody in the township, we thank you for your honorable service to this township. We wish you the best of all and good health.
Thank you.
Mayor Harrickle, before you start, are you going to touch on this?
Yes, yes. And if you'd pass that down there, I'll unless you want to just go ahead with it.
You're more familiar with it than I am. I certainly would appreciate if you would touch on that.
Oh, Dave's here now. Let's let Dave address this, because this is an important thing.
Good evening. I'm sorry I'm late. I had to take care of some stuff, so I just want to make it back. Basically, what we're going to be doing is Miss Lobb's been an employee of the township for quite some time. I understand she worked for the police department before she worked for the township over here, and unfortunately, she's developed cancer. And I've had that strike my family, and as a fire department family, I think that we take care of our own. So one of the things that I got together with the police department after we did a drill where we had dodgeball tournament wearing full gear, and everybody seemed to enjoy it, I thought, you know, that would be a good way to raise some money. And maybe we could help her out with some expenses and stuff like that, or food, or you know, gas for traveling back and forth, so it's less pressure off her. So we came up with it. The school was gracious enough to allow us to have the tournament there this Saturday. We'll start at 6 o'clock and go till 8 o'clock. It's going to be the fire department versus the police, and I'm pretty sure that the fire department's going to win. Talking with Lieutenant Beeler, we were putting it together and stuff like that, and he recommended, well, it's not fair that we just go in fire gear. And I said, okay. And so he suggested that we go in SWAT gear and fire gear. So one game will be in firefighting gear, and the second game will be in SWAT gear. So it should be an interesting time watching it happen and take place, and hopefully it'll be a good fundraiser to raise money for her. So that's what it's about.
Thank you, the people in your department, and Chief, the people in your department. This is a wonderful thing you have undertaken. Sincere thank you from all of us.
And we've had a lot of great reach from the outside sources and citizens within the township to help us. So
This is a wonderful thing you have done.
great.
Dave, did the chief authorize you guys to be armed also?
I think that's how they're
Because I think
they're
it's
trying
going to
to
even
cheat a little
things
bit,
up
you know?
if he does.
They're going to shoot our kneecaps out beforehand. So yeah, just kidding.
It's a really worthwhile event.
Yeah.
And I thank Dave and Mike for doing this.
We did say if it came down to a tie that commissioners are going to have to get in gear.
Not a problem.
Chief, just a question. Who do we make checks payable to for a donation?
If you'd like to come out to the Red Hall Bureau of Fire, then
Okay.
we'll write one check at the end.
All right, great.
I'm on? Okay. Couple of things. One, Treasurer Gober isn't here because she's at the hospital with a family member, and I wish everything go well in that regard. The dodgeball we addressed. We have had a significant interest throughout the past 2.5 months from people interested in the dairy. And I think that we're moving to a resolution of the problem we have there. There's a lot going on there, and I'm very optimistic about our ability to deal with that problem that we've had sitting out there for 30 years. This is the 100th anniversary of the American Legion, and the Fullerton Legion reached out to me asking if they could get some support from the community. And the Lions Club stepped up, and they have paid for the flags that you're seeing that are flying on Fullerton Avenue right now. They're in honor of the 100th year anniversary of the American Legion, and we'll be doing a little something to celebrate that after the weather breaks. Also in line with that, having been down at Valley Forge and at the Freedoms Foundation, we decided we're going to be running a trip that's ostensibly for veterans, but it could be expanded to include the community, down to Valley Forge Park for the early part of the day. There'll be lunch down there. And then we'll go to the Freedoms Foundation, and one of the main things that we'll be doing there is walking through the Medal of Honor Grove down there. They have every Medal of Honor recipient noted there, and every one of the 50 states have their own obelisk and an area in the Grove dedicated to their individual Medal of Honor recipient. So I'm hoping the community is going to be willing to support that. I don't think there's any question about that. I'd like to thank Phil for being here, because he's been a big part of some of the things that are getting done up here in Whitehall right now, and I thank him. So that's about it. We'll move on. I would ask that the board consider an executive meeting just for a few minutes to discuss some areas of potential acquisition of property.
Yes, I'm sorry, Lee.
Pardon?
Just for anybody that's interested, in the fall, we were trying to get the sign dedication for the Fort Deschler dig. Have a little ceremony because we put a sign, an interpretive sign along the IRT. You may have seen it, but there's going to be a formal dedication of that sign on March 29th at 11 o'clock. There's a lot of people that were involved. It'll be on the trail right by the sign.
Which is, identify where it is.
Well, it's, okay, Jeff, you're better. You could probably park at the Chestnut, in Chestnut Ridge Estates in the cul-de-sac, and then get on the trail and walk up towards the overpass of 145. So that's probably the best place to go. But yeah, it was a really worthwhile endeavor, and we're finally going to dedicate it. Tony's going to have a ceremony for it.
What was it, 29th?
March 29th at 11 o'clock.
Thank you, Lee. This board's going to go into executive session to discuss real estate issues after the adjournment of the meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Jeff?
I'll second.
Good night.
Did I screw up again?
Still gonna stick around? Kate, still gonna stick around for Kate?
Thank you, Mario.
Phil.
Hey, to those of you who are here, tonight is Pineapple Upside Down Cake Night. If you want to hang around till the end of the executive session.
No difference.
You know, tomorrow is the fall festival.
Announcement during the meeting that you were in executive. Is how it is. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, everybody likes to know what other people make.
What?
Hey, my clients hate
They're the worst.
And the nice round numbers.
How are they round? They're the pointiest numbers I've ever seen.
Make it 0.